because of fear and all the things that we've had to get through even to come to this place, I am hopeful, not so much in the process. And you see, that's the thing. So many people say, if you know the process is not fair, then why do you go there? But then I would want such cynics to give us an alternative that is better than this. More than anything else, I have a message which I have to give to the people of this country. And now I have a platform. And now I'm going to tell the people of this nation that there is a much better future for them, where the resources of this nation do not belong to one family and their, but this nation, is that deliberate? Do not belong to one family and their hunger zone, but belong to all of us. And I want every person in this nation to get themselves involved in the real conversation that matters, and that is the economic conversation, because there's been a lot of talk about all sorts of politics, and I'm sure the incumbent likes it that way because he has a charge over that. But of course, he heads a system that requires him to go and play the politics, even as the people around him, most of them relatives, friends and in-laws, strip this nation of its resources. So that is the war that we are going to fight, and it's a war of minds. It's not a war that is, and it's one war that the incumbent doesn't know how to fight. He knows how to fight other wars. He survives off them. He lives off them. He even creates them where they don't exist. But when it comes to war of minds, there's nothing he has to offer, because this election now is about young people who want a promising future and who sat down here and listened to somebody talking about COVID, using the so-called pandemic, and I mean that the so-called pandemic to kill a democratic process and an excuse to carry on with his despotic ways using a pandemic. And yet we have bigger issues, even health-wise, a lot bigger issues than this virus will ever be, which, by the way, even in world statistics, 99.98 people who get it get cured of it. So imagine a nation that loses close to 20 people every day from malaria, and that is poverty, and loses 18 people every day from women giving birth, and we are concerning ourselves with a virus whose deaths have to be manufactured. Somebody has been sick of so many things, then he dies and they test the body and they say he had COVID, so he died of COVID. No, he did not die of COVID. So we have real problems which we have to address. But the first real problem is the issue of financial liberation, and the issue that is so key, because there is a reason why there has been an intentional design by this government to impoverish everybody, because they know money is the means by which they propagate themselves if they are the only ones who have it. Now, of course, when people get money and get into the middle class, then now you have to speak to their minds rather than to their miserly pockets, and then that is something that he finds very difficult to do. So there are just a few things I'm going to say here, and the first few days of my administration, and it is going to be that way, by the way, are going to be about some kind of affirmative action, reversing things that have been done throughout the 35 years. First of all, reversing the impoverishing, the deliberate impoverishing of Ugandans. And you know, there are people who say, who want to associate what I am saying. Am I still on? Okay. There are people who would want to associate what I'm saying with economy. Now, those are big words which so many Ugandans don't even know about. But what we are saying here is money in people's pockets. And that is the key thing for which I come. And that's not something that I just speak. I know exactly how I'm going to do it. And I know exactly how I'm going to do it for each and every region of this country. Now, I'm telling you the what. When I launch my manifesto in a short while, I'll tell you the how. Because so many people ask, how can you do this? And there is a very easy how. Now, in order to understand how we came to this place, where people are at such depth of desperation, you have to know that to understand the whole issue of financial liberation, you have to first come to the realization, and some people struggle to get there, that Uganda is not an economy. It's just a family business. The rest of us are at best a market, at worst slaves. Now, we have to turn that, our nation. That's why my group is called Reclaiming Our Country. Because that country has been taken away. Even those people, they will get the wealth of this country and pass it on to foreigners rather than give it to the people of this country. Even what is left from what they plunder, they will still give it to foreigners. They are the ones who will come here and get rich when indigenous people are the ones getting poor. So now, the first thing I told you is money in people's pockets, and you will see me in your wallets. After your vote, the next time you'll see me is in your wallet when you see an earthquake in your wallet, and you know that I'm around that place. Even if you can't see me physically, every time you see your wallet bulge, you know I'm around there. The second thing is to turn the country back away from foreign control to local indigenous control, where people who are born here have feel that they have a privilege in this country, rather than feel that they will be slaves in this country to foreigners. And yet, when they step out of this country, they are slaves anyway. When they come back here, because of the leadership that we have which intends to keep it that way, because you know, the whole principle of poor people are easier to govern. So they will catch wealth and give it to foreigners, and you know, so the so-called foreign investors and so on. So now, the first thing is money in the pockets. The second thing is making sure that we reclaim every aspect of our country, starting with the wealth, but also with the a lot of the things, the decision making, reclaiming our democracy, reclaiming the man of, decision making. Because I'll give you an example. Because if you look at what has been happening over these past years, and here is where I talk about affirmative action. We've had a scenario where now, as we speak right now, all power in this country is vested in the office of one old, frail despot. All power is vested in his office. Now, the first thing we do when we get in power is to divest that power away from there and make sure that different arms of government have power, but even different people, decision makers at different levels. Because local governments were killed long time ago, parliament is virtually useless, they pass a budget without, and I don't say that meaning that there is anything wrong with the parliamentarians. They are just people caught up in a bogus system. So they also, the judiciary is also messed up. Them also, I don't blame them that much. They are people caught up in a bogus system. Now we have to construct the system before we can start saying or demanding anything of these people. Now that is what we are here to do. And by the way, believe me, it is going to be done. Because you know, I do not subscribe to the cynical thinkers. You know, cynicism is an escape route that has only fleeting benefits. You become cynical, you're wasting your time, everybody knows who is going to win the election. No, they don't. They don't even know if the person they think is going to win it is going to be alive at the time the elections are announced. So don't think anybody knows who is going to win the elections. Now, don't carry the cynical approach of what's the point in me going to vote if I know who is going to win the election. Please do not. And thirdly, understand that we want this election to be about issues. This is why I am here. It is going to be about exact issues. Issues that are of importance to us. And now we have a choice. Either to choose to go down this COVID path. We'll still be talking about COVID 1 year from now, as long as Museveni needs it to impose restrictions on people. But now, if somebody wants to have life the way it was, where woke up and went to churches, woke up and went, those who wanted to bars, to discotheques and so on, without having the whole specter of police brutality hovering over us in the name of a certain virus which kills, whose deaths have only have to be manufactured all along, you know, and who people are being paid money to say your people died of COVID, and that's the truth. So now here is the thing: we have a choice of getting back to liberty, and where we do not use excuses of viruses. People are free to go and, you know, pray, to go and do everything that they want. But also, we need a truly godly leadership. And that's what I stand here presenting. A truly godly leadership. A leadership of somebody who fears God. Now, what we are having is a leadership of people who will be in parliament and they bring for them a head of a young kid because they are sacrificing children to be back in government. Now, I'm here to tell them that my standing on this pulpit is the end of that kind of politics of sacrificing people to be in power. Now we are here to declare a godly reign, a reign of God, and I am going to get in power purely by the blessing and the grace of God. And the only sacrifice I know about was the sacrifice which was made for me 2,000 years ago when God sent his son and he died on the cross for me. That is the only blood that is going to be shed. Now these leaders who are sacrificing human beings and so on because they want to be in power, their time has come to an end. Now when Kabuleeta, Pastor Joseph Kabuleeta stands here, just know that that is the end of that reign. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord, the scripture says. Now, not these leaders who are taking us to Wachwezi and taking us to witchcraft and so on. That is coming to an end and their time is up. And the thing is, they know it. That's why they have put up all these, things out of fear. But they know it. They know their time is up. And when God arises, as he is now, his enemies are going to be scattered. And now God is arising in me. And you watch and see his enemies scattered. Even those who pretend to be godly, but they are not. Watch and see how they scatter and how we get to a purely godly leadership. And I mean leadership of people who fear God, regardless of their faith, regardless of their doctrine, but people who fear God. And whatever religion they pursue, we all respect all religions. And this is the dawn that we stand here today, the dawn when this nation is finally going to be blessed, because we cannot be voting leaders who are cutting off heads of children and we expect God to bless our country. It is not going to happen now. But when Kabuleeta stands up and leads by the grace and the power of God, then blessed will be Uganda, because our God will be the real God and not those small gods whom our leaders and the people around them subscribe to and only come and pay lip service to, so-called religious people and pay them lip service. Now, we are not here to pay lip service. We are here to speak about the dawn where the Lord is God, and we are a God-fearing nation, and we shall lead accordingly, and we shall guide this nation accordingly, and we shall stand up and be counted as people who stand up for religious freedom, and not a scenario that we've had here where for so many months churches are closed, but witch doctors' shrines are open. I have not had anybody closing witch doctors' shrines because the leaders have to go there. But we who go and worship God in church have been stopped from worshiping in the name of a virus. Now, either we go down that road of despair and despondency and fear and all sorts of despotic tendencies and authoritarianism and a police state where policemen do anything without any form of restraint, or we choose the path of the fear of God, the path of Joseph Kabuleeta, the path of somebody who stands here and says, blessed is Uganda, because we are going to have a godly leader, and you are looking at him right now. Thank you very much.